LoRA made fine-tuning cheap by learning a tiny low-rank update instead of touching a giant model. But that same low rank has a ceiling. It struggles to memorize genuinely new knowledge. MoRA, from Microsoft and Beihang University in 2024, fixes this by learning a square matrix that reaches a much higher rank, using the exact same number of trainable parameters. Here's the problem, the idea, how it works, and when to reach for it. First, why LoRA hits a wall. LoRA adds an update to the weights that is the product of two skinny matrices, so its rank is capped at a small number like 8 or 16. That is plenty for adjusting behavior the model already knows, like following instructions. But when you need it to absorb brand new facts, a domain, a language, that thin low-rank update simply doesn't have the capacity to store much new information. MoRA's idea is elegant. Take the same parameter budget LoRA would spend on two thin matrices, and instead pack them into one square matrix. A square matrix of the same size can have a far higher rank. For example, the parameters LoRA spends on rank 8 can build a 256 by 256 square block, lifting the update's rank from 8 all the way up toward 256. Same cost, much more capacity. But there's a catch, and this is the clever part. The model's hidden size is large, say 4000, while the square matrix is small, say 256. Their dimensions don't line up. So MoRA wraps the square matrix in two parameter-free operators, a compression that shrinks the wide input down to the square's size, and a decompression that expands the result back to full width. Only the square matrix in the middle actually learns. Let's watch it train. A forward pass sends the input through compression into the square matrix, then through decompression, and adds the result to the frozen model's output, just like LoRA. You compute the loss and backpropagate, but gradients update only the square matrix. The base model stays completely frozen. Because the compress and decompress steps have no parameters, your trainable count matches LoRA exactly. Here is the module end-to-end. A full-width input is compressed down to the square's dimension. The square matrix supplies its high-rank transformation. Decompression expands it back to full width. That output is added to the frozen layer. And crucially, because these operators are fixed functions, the whole thing can be merged back into the original weights after training, so inference costs nothing extra, exactly like LoRA. So how does MoRA compare to LoRA head-to-head? LoRA uses two low-rank matrices, is capped at a small rank, and is great for instruction tuning and style. MoRA uses one square matrix, reaches a high rank at the same parameter cost, and is far stronger at memorizing new knowledge. Both freeze the base model and both merge cleanly for deployment. MoRA trades a little simplicity for a lot more memory capacity. The trickiest piece is the compression and decompression, and MoRA studies 4 ways to do it. Truncation just cuts dimensions and loses the most information. Sharing reuses rows or columns to preserve more. Decoupling splits the input into groups. And rotation, inspired by rotary position embeddings, mixes information as it compresses and gave the best results, so it is the recommended default. Now the headline. On a pure memorization test, teaching the model random unique identifier pairs, MoRA at rank 256 reached 100% accuracy in about 500 training steps, matching full fine-tuning. LoRA at rank 8 was still stuck near 10% at the same point and only crawled toward 50% much later. High rank is what lets a small adapter actually memorize. Where does MoRA shine? Continual pre-training, where you keep teaching a base model a new domain like biomedicine or finance. In the paper MoRA beat LoRA on both, precisely because absorbing new knowledge needs high rank. It is also the better pick anytime the goal is knowledge injection rather than just adjusting tone or format, while still keeping the tiny footprint and easy swapping that make adapters attractive. Encoded looks familiar. MoRA ships as a PEFT-compatible config, so you wrap your frozen base model, turn on MoRA, pick the rotation compression type, and choose the square matrix rank. You then train exactly as you would with LoRA, and only the square matrix is trainable. When you're done, you can merge it into the weights, and the trainable parameter count matches a comparable LoRA run. So, when should you reach for it? Choose MoRA when you're doing continual pre-training. injecting new facts, a new domain, or a new language, and you need real memorization capacity. Think twice when the task is plain instruction tuning, style or format work, where the paper shows MoRA and LoRA are basically tied, so LoRA simplicity and mature tooling usually win. Let's recap. LoRA's low rank update is cheap, but caps how much new knowledge it can store. MoRA spends the same parameters on a square matrix to hit a much higher rank, using parameter-free compression and decompression to fit the model's dimensions. It merges like LoRA, matches it on instruction tuning, and clearly beats it on memorization and continual pre-training. Higher rank, same budget. That's MoRA. Keep the model frozen, but give your adapter real memory by trading two thin matrices for one high-rank square. Did this make MoRA click? Follow for plain English Gen AI breakdowns.